6-point underdogs. The Texas Longhorns are coming into this one. How the turntables here, because we've been seeing them as the favorites these last 2 weeks, and really we haven't looked at them as underdogs all year.
No, they haven't been. And boy, to hear Sark talk the other day, you think they were 60-point dogs. It's like, nobody's giving a chance.
It's a good thing for coaches, right? It's easy to give you that rat poison talk.
Well, think about it. I mean, here we are in this NFL-like, long season. You start running out of ways to motivate. I mean, human nature, 19 to 22, 23-year-old men, to motivate them when they're always favored, when they're always the most talented team on the field, yada, yada, yada. Oh, Sark's eating this up.
Well, here's my question to you. Are they underdogs more for what they've done so far through the college football playoff, or more for what Ohio State's done so far throughout the college football playoff?
Yes.
Yes.
Both. Yeah, without a doubt. And, we're all prisoners of the moment in a way. Ohio State, I mean, my gosh. What they've done against Tennessee and Oregon.
Good thing losing to Michigan. Lit a fire under them.
Oh, my goodness, right. And so then you're thinking, well, that wasn't that long ago. Could that team show up, or could Texas make them play like that team? And then you have Texas on the flip of the coin. Loved what I saw against Clemson, even though that got a little closer than you wanted. But I guess what I love so much about it, I mean, all things being equal, is that they ran the rock. That's been, for me, the common denominator. You feel real good about this Texas team if they can run the ball. And they couldn't run it twice against Georgia, 2 L's. Couldn't run it against an Arizona State team that was supposed to be ripe to be run on.
Yeah, everyone's looking at this outside zone runs and saying, throw it in the bin, let's move on.
Right, but when it works, it works. I mean, God, we were watching the Lions last night. Run it to perfection. So, and I mean, Sark's horns are what they are right now. I mean, they ran for 300 against Clemson, so it's like this. It's this, whether it's a fine line or it's a matchup thing, or I really think Arizona State came with a really good plan against it.
That's for sure. Well, not initially, right? There are some cold takes exposed in our text messages between each other, and we go through it. Because you come out like, guns a-blazing with the first 3 plays, first 3 sequences, and then you just go so ice cold here.
Not one of those was a run, though. Two passes and a return.
And then the kick return, which, at least Silas Bolden got his first of the year. Big spot to do it.
Right.
But one of the things that's going to haunt me going into this matchup is just thinking that they can have that in their bag to just go so ice cold for long stretches. And they're facing this defense from Ohio State, which I didn't realize how good they were, but they're among the best, if not the best in the country.
Right, because Texas forever, we like to stay in our own little bubble, and we're an SEC school. And so, again, you start looking as like, oh, wait a minute. Ohio State has actually been doing this against the run and the pass at a really high level. What do they average, like 12 points a game against them, or giving up 12 a game?
Something like that, whereas Texas, 14. But that kind of just tells you. But in our minds, as SEC fans, we're thinking to ourselves like, 14 in the SEC versus 12 in the Big Ten. It's night and day. It's apples and oranges.
Right.
What, that's against Illinois or whatever? But it shows that talent transfers. It doesn't matter. Like when you look at both these teams, right? I think Todd McShay put it out there that there's 20 to 30 draft eligible type players or players that could get drafted and play on Sundays. Yeah,
and somebody was asking me about the matchup, and I almost was simplifying it the same way, and I'm not ripping off. I hadn't seen McShay say that, but these two teams, if I'm not mistaken, when people were talking about who's ranked high in the preseason, these are the two teams like talented rosters, Ohio State and Texas. Like, they always were in the same sentence, those two teams. And yet here they are. And the only problem is when you're trying to handicap this thing or figure out how it's going to play out, call it recency bias, call it just using, with the eye test or whatever. But if you have these two like in talent, yet one is actually playing and maxing out at the right time, and that would be Ohio State. To do what they did against Oregon, that's mind-blowing to me. And I know Oregon might have had something to do with that with the long time off, but when you got it rolling on defense and offense the way Ohio State, there is no, this third quarter lull narrative. I mean, it's been constant, right, for Texas. It's starting to, for a while it was kind of funny, and now you're just like, okay, you're to the point in the season you can't you can't miss the third quarter. You got to play 4 really good quarters in all 3 phases. There's not much room for error. Oh, and you have to run the ball. You got to establish the run. So those 2 things, when you have these 2 really talented teams, and I think the UT defense will be fine, relatively. It's easy for me to say.
That's the interesting thing. Been fine. They've given up more points over those last couple weeks than they really have all year.
Right.
Which first half against Cam Scadaboo, he was 40 yards going into halftime, and then afterwards he exploded for his 200-something plus all-purpose yards altogether. Heck, that guy was doing everything. He was even throwing passes.
It was that magic puke, right? As soon as he starts puking his guts out.
That's the danger, though, when you face a team that's such a heavy underdog and has nothing to lose, though, because you could tell Dillingham was emptying out the bag in that one. They were running fake punts.
Sure.
They were having, again, a halfback throw. They were doing everything they could think of to possibly win that one. I think they went on 4th down like 4 or 5 times throughout the course of the game, and a couple of times, obviously, he was back-breaking to Texas.
Right.
Ohio State's not going to feel that same level of pressure. They're just going to beat you just because they have really talented players if they're going to beat you.
Yeah. And so if you're a Texas fan, you're hoping, okay, Texas has been kind of, you can't say they're stumbling. They're in the CFP semifinals, right? But for what they can do, Sark's the first to talk about the players. They haven't played their best game. They hope they hadn't this year because there's been little things here and there that, of course, you can improve on. But that third quarter, they have to figure that out. And it's not like this theorem of like, let's solve the Rubik's Cube here. It's like, you just got to come out and play ball.
So probably the easiest pathway to victory, as far as we're going to put like the key points of the game, right? So turnovers, limit those, get rid of those, and play a complete football game. We have struggled to see them play a complete football game, and this is both on Quinn and Sark, because I know when it comes to Quinn, there's been a lot of debate whether or not he was the hero or he was the duck in that matchup against ASU, because I can't look at that second and third quarter and act like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
He was clutch, but the dirty little secret with clutch they don't tell you is you have to also be really bad at a certain point in the game to even be put in a position to be clutch. That's the thing.
There's always 2 sides to it. I liked this performance. I get caught up in the run game and that's what Speaking
they're
of
going to have that same
cliches,
issue though.
Yeah, and they are. I think I want Texas to prove me wrong that they can that can work against Ohio State and then get it rolling. I know they've been a little banged up on the line. I know Quinn, for the last half of the season, he's getting his wheels back and, healing from the oblique. So I like where Quinn's health is. Hopefully Isaiah Bond gets that wheel back because, he was not a factor, in that game. But hats off to him for gutting through and playing. So you hope that just with a little extra time, those guys heal up, that line heals up, and you just hope that they can run the ball. I think it's a long day if you're one-dimensional against a defense like that.
And also defensively, I feel like, you have to bracket Jeremiah Smith. Woo. That's going to be the task for those guys. Jahdae Barron, this is where you really solidify that you're winning that Thorpe Award there. Yeah. You have to keep this guy on lockdown, and that's no easy task. They just replaced a guy who went number 4 in the NFL draft with, a guy who's 19 and is a superstar. Yeah. Wide receiver Ohio State, maybe they have as good a case as anyone.
They are, what is Jeremiah, 6'3", 215?
Yeah.
Day, we love Day. Talented, cerebral, gamer, prepares, but it's hard to, you're giving up 4 inches on that.
We should be able to petition college football. Can we wear Michigan blue just in this scenario, right? They just see it on the other sidelines, and maybe that's how they get the better of them. Now, because it seems like in every other matchup, aside from Michigan, Ryan Day, you mentioned cerebral. Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. This guy has the best game plans in the league. But as soon as he sees what do they call it, the maize and blue there, then it's just where, everything just...
I will, exactly. I will say this about Jahdae and Andrew Makuba and that secondary against, whether it's Jeremiah or the rest of that receiving core. Depending on if you like Pro Football Focus or the ratings, but I saw the top Longhorns and Buckeyes, Day and Makuba, 1-2, and then Jeremiah Smith. So, they're all playing well right now, and so I can't wait to see how it works out.
Good or bad for Texas that Will Howard has such a history with them?
Yeah, yes. It's always both, right? Yeah, you can tell that it's in his craw. I've seen him say it now twice, like, this is personal. He's not shying away from it.
And that last year's game.
Oh, yeah, I know. I forgot how ugly that play was for K-State and Will Howard.
Yeah.
But
even to be there, though, because they were, Texas was up multiple scores, thought the game was over, and then suddenly it's, a 30-30 tie?
Without a
and
doubt.
Kickers missing a field goal. They could have put them up, too.
Yeah. No, K-State had that game. So he can taste it, but there's the familiarity. A lot of those Longhorns have played against this guy and beaten this guy. So it's not that they're going to be overconfident against him because they got it rolling. But no, I think it helps both sides, if you will.
I think this is a big one for Sark because going back to the Clemson analysis, right, I mentioned how it's good for Sark to stack up these wins against other highly thought of coaches, right? And Ryan Day, I feel like they're very similar, right? They're in that second tier, just under Kirby Smart, battling to be in that upper echelon, that 1A, 1B, 2 Kirby. Yeah. And you get the national title, obviously that instantly puts you there, but especially if you get that head-to-head win. Yeah. So I don't think it's lost on Sark that he's going to be facing another talented coach on the opposite sideline.
Oh, yeah. And then I'm seeing, was it Schefter reporting that the Cowboys are going to come calling?
Yeah, yes. Can we point that out there? Who from the Ohio State media put that one out, right? Someone's leaking that. There is no way that was just waiting to be released until now before, as CDC put it, the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
Right. Yeah, the gamesmanship, right? No, I can't wait for
I think it's similar to the previous week. We had the Quinn Ewers, $6 million, a stay or go. It always happens. It never ceases to amaze me that there's always some negative headline that just buried there, just waiting. Oh, yeah, big time game coming up.
Yep, gamesmanship to the end for sure. But yeah, to your point, this would go a long way, and it would be that one next step for Sark. Somebody pointed out. They were asking Sark the other day. I think it was Joe Cook, our buddy from Inside Texas, where he was like, have you had a chance to, you haven't raised a trophy after a bowl game. Yeah. Like, it's like these are things that Sark is just checking off. And going to the Natty would definitely bolster that resume, and doing it at Ohio State and Ryan Day's expense.
There's also a case here. No matter who wins, I think either of these teams are going to be the favorite against Penn State or Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So is the national title being played this Friday?
Yeah. You'd get this reference. It's Cowboys-Niners, right, from back in the day?
Exactly.
Yeah, there was that long stretch where whoever won that Cowboys-Niners NFC championship, it was like, check it off. I would like to buy into that as someone who covers the Horns and a proud alum, but I saw Notre Dame look pretty stout.
All Northern Illinois' game plan, right? You got them.
Right, yeah. So all Texas really has to do is beat a team that lost to Michigan and beat a team that lost to Northern Illinois, right?
Exactly. 2 easy check marks on their way to getting there.
Wide open.
I was actually talking about this with one of our guests, too, that this is going to be somewhat of a budding outer conference rivalry, right? We also got the game coming up next year against Ohio State.
Yeah.
These two teams, 3 matchups so far. Ohio State's trying to make it a tie, and then I guess next fall would be the tiebreaker if that's to happen.
Yeah, it's been a while, people that have been in Austin for a little bit. Quan Cosby, we're going to try to get hold of Quan. He was a hero, and in the last time they played when I think Colt threw for about 400 in that Fiesta Bowl, and Quan was on the receiving end of the game winner. And then back before that, back when Vince and the Horns were making a run in 05, like there is some there's 3 games of history, but they were all meaningful. And then the one here where Ohio State got a little revenge in the regular season. So we were using that as an example of when Texas was playing Georgia at DKR. I was like, what are the biggest games that have been here? And that was right up there.
It's good to see the Blue Bloods in action, right? This is truly Final Four March Madness time here.
For the day ones, the diehards, the first-timers, the old-timers. For all the rivalry matches, buzzer beaters, and come-from-behind miracles. It's not just stats and wins and losses. It's the moments, the shots you can't believe went in, the times you can't do anything but believe. And it's all streaming right here on your connected TV anytime on Fox Local.
The Sports Office, streaming anytime on Fox Local.